Hey guys, let's start Unit 10. It's going to be two videos. This first one's going to be kind of short and sweet. Um, Here we are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth snow day in a row with another one coming tomorrow. So eventually I guess we'll get back into school, but who knows. Unit 10, the cell cycle and mitosis. I'm going to divide this up into the cell cycle as one video and mitosis as the second. All cells have a life cycle. It's a pretty simple life cycle. It's simply a period of growth and a period of division. Now, they do this growth and division independent of all the other stuff that these cells do. Like your heart muscle cells will still contract and cause your heart to beat. The liver cells will continue to filter out your blood and carry on certain metabolic functions. So the growth and division is not saying that the cell stops doing its job. It's in addition to that. The growth part can be defined as the cell getting larger, which kind of makes sense, but it also is defined as when the cell makes new parts. That's considered growth. Or if the cell repairs damage to a body, that's also growth. So what are some reasons cells divide? To repair damage. If you get a cut, a scrape, a burn, or a broken bone, to name a few, then cell division has to repair those cuts and heal those burns and mend those breaks. The second reason cells divide is to cause growth of a multicelled organism. So, things like us or other animals, plants, fungus, all those organisms that have more than one cell, they get bigger by increasing their number of cells. Very important fact there. And that happens by cell division. Excuse me, I have the hiccups. The third reason cells divide is because they get too big and they can no longer transport their materials in and out of the cell efficiently through diffusion. It's like if this is the cell membrane and here's the target organelle, say the mitochondria, and the distance across the cytoplasm is too great. Diffusion is a relatively slow process when you're talking about chemical processes, and it can take so long for the materials to get across there that the cell might die waiting for the stuff to get there. So the only way to make that distance smaller is to take the cell and divide it into two cells, thus making each cell smaller. So that's the third reason cells divide, because they get too big. Here's a graphical look at the cell cycle. It looks like a big, really funky shaped pie. It's been cut into weird pieces. And since it's a cycle, you can start anywhere you want to. I think the logical places to start is in the G1 phase. That's the dark purple area. G stands for gap, so it's the first gap phase. And in this phase, a newly divided cell needs to undergo a little bit of growth. The cell has to actually get a little bit bigger. But more importantly, it has to make all the parts that it needs, because it just divided everything in the cell into two cells. Each one of those new cells needs more parts, and that's what has to happen in G1. So it replicates all the parts except for DNA. And then comes the S phase. So we're going clockwise. The S phase is where the DNA replicates. Very important process, DNA replication. We're going to get to that in a couple of units. Very important concept, one of the most important concepts that you'll learn in biology. But let's just right now leave it as what it says. The DNA replicates, it makes a copy of itself. Because again, the cell just divided into two brand new cells. Well, if you had 46 chromosomes in that cell, as a human cell, for example, each new cell is only going to have 23. That's not enough. If that cell with 23 divides again before it replicates, then each cell is going to have like 11 and a half, which doesn't work. So you have to get that 23 number back up to 46, and that occurs in the S phase. And then the third part of the cell cycle is called the gap 2, or the G2 phase. This is where the cell gets itself ready for mitosis, or the cell division. And it also performs an important self-check to make sure that the DNA replication actually did occur in the S phase. And if it didn't, or if it occurred with errors, then the G2 phase is going to shut down the cell cycle temporarily until it's fixed. So together, G1 plus S plus G2 Collectively, that's known as interphase, this word right here. So if you look at these arrows, we start off at G1. Interphase starts off at the beginning of G1, and it ends at the end of G2. The fourth and final phase of the cell cycle is called the M phase. That's up here. The M phase is all this white portion. It's the cell division part. So remember I said the cell cycle was a period of growth and a period of division? Well, the G1, S, and G2, or interphase, is the growth part. The M phase is the division part. So you can see time-wise, it's a much smaller chunk of time than the growth part. And the cell division, or the M phase, is actually made up of two parts: mitosis, which you've probably heard of, and cytokinesis, which is a very small, short process, but separate from mitosis. Cytokinesis is not a phase of mitosis. Okay, and we're going to learn about what happens in each one of these phases of mitosis in the next video. So I don't want you to think that G1, S, and G2 are part of mitosis, or somehow that prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase are part of interphase. They're not. Interphase and mitosis, two separate things. Okay, that's the end of this video.